Welcome to the Low Tox Life podcast.
We cannot let tech displace human relationships because human connectedness is the number one protective factor. In real time, even more so than it can be enhanced in the digital space, but it cannot be sought in the digital space as the solution. And I'm not sure if you're aware that we all thought FOMO was the big thing for most teens, but JOMO has actually kind of replaced it. So instead of the fear of missing out, often it's the joy of missing out. For many teens haven't got the energy or the social skills to want to go out and hang out with their friends. And would you believe that AI has created some apps that help you make excuses that don't hurt or upset your friends' feelings? Welcome to the crazy world we live in.
Welcome to the show. I'm Alex Stewart, your host. I'm super thrilled to have you here for what I didn't think was going to be my news breaking show, but it is. I'm going to tell you about the show first, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit of news before we start this epic conversation with Maggie Dent. So Maggie Dent has collaborated with a global digital safety expert, Kirra Pendergast, and together they have written a book called Digital Freedom. Now, what this book is about is not just flooding us with a whole bunch of stuff as parents and carers to make us terrified of the age our kids are growing up in and paralyzing us into the fear that it's all over for our kids and their future and the planet. And we are absolutely right to be concerned about this additional wave of big tech with AI and how it's infiltrating our lives, seemingly sometimes without us having any control over it. But of course, there are things that are within our control. There are things that we can nurture and protect and build in our kids. And so this show, I'm talking to Maggie Dent, who somehow, if you've made it this far through your parenting or caring for kids' life without coming across her work, she's incredible. She's been such a massive support for millions of families around the world through her books, through her generosity of creating online content. And today, hopefully, you leave this podcast feeling a little more empowered about not only going and grabbing a copy of Digital Freedom that is out this week, but also you'll notice both in today's chat as well as in the book is it's about turning the knowledge of how bad things can be and how dangerous and cautionary certain aspects of online worlds are, but also how to have constructive, positive, empowering, connected conversations with the kids in our lives and help them through this, and not through a disciplinary approach, because that never works, especially with teenagers, but a collaborative approach to how to navigate digital safety and agency in today's times. You'll notice it's usually that type of guest, like the wonderful psychologist Jocelyn Brewer, like the wonderful sociologist, PhD, Devorah Heitner. These are the types of people I'm interested in amplifying in the conversation about kids and the online world, because they're not there to make things black and white, good, bad, pretty, ugly. They're there to help us navigate what healthy relationship with online is. So I'm going to hook into that conversation in a little minute. And of course, in a couple of seconds, you'll also have a wonderful note from our show sponsors, who I could not do this show without every single week. But this podcast is near its end. Yes. I can't believe I just said those words out loud, and you are going to be on your morning walk or folding your laundry or on the bus on the way to work, somewhere in the world, maybe chilling out on your sofa. Low Tox Life is not like entirely coming to an end, but the podcast is. I started this podcast a decade ago, and for 10 years, I have produced a show every week except for Christmas and New Year. And on show number 500, that will be our last show. So there will be more about how I came to that decision in the coming weeks. I don't want to bore you with it all now, but it felt like a really perfect time to close the chapter on the podcast. And I will say this, I want to do more to take action and to turn knowledge into transformation for people as a measured, empowering, encouraging voice in your life with more practical ways to put everything in practice, whether that's for personal health, whether that's for environmental toxin reduction and policy building around that, whether that is for just making swaps in your home, whoever you are, however you are. I created Low Tox Life. I coined the term low tox because I knew that free from, zero, no, all those black and white terms don't work. And Low Tox Life was never about shutting people out because you weren't following some pristine protocol. It's really a concept that we can apply to our lives however we see fit, wherever we live, with whatever means we have, with whatever vision we have, with whatever values we have. Everyone can live a lower tox life. And so I want to get back to doing more actively in that space with the time that I give to Low Tox Life. I'm a busy, multi-passionate person with 2 businesses, but Low Tox Life will return to being an advocacy space with a lot of focus on education, with a lot of focus on our Low Tox Club membership, where we hold masterclasses to bring things to life and have those live Q&As where people can actually become a part of the conversation. Instead of listening and learning and knowing, we are going to be listening and doing and acting. So, little word from our sponsors, and we're going to jump into this super encouraging conversation about the online world and our kids with Maggie Dent. Enjoy. There are a lot of things that we can think we need when it comes to reducing our environmental toxin exposures and improving the health of our homes. 2 things that I genuinely believe move the needle massively are dehumidifiers and air purifiers. Just like us needing walking and sunshine and water, our homes need care as well, and dehumidification, especially once you know through getting a climate gauge, and that's the easiest thing. That's like a $20 spend to pop one in a couple of different areas of your home. If you see that those are over 60% humidity regularly, this is why we end up with those moldy clothes and bags and shoes in the back of a cupboard in the shady bedroom of the house. So if you haven't invested in a dehumidifier, please go check out ozclimate.com.au. If you're an Aussie, if you're overseas, there will no doubt be a great dehumidifier brand in your part of the world. But I do know you can get Ozclimate in Australia and New Zealand, and you have 10% off with the code LOWTOXLIFE, and that often works on top of sale prices. And if you have any questions on the Instagram feed at LowToxLife, if you scroll down a little bit on the main feed, you'll see a huge stack of tiles that have a white background with the parts 1 through 10. And that is a whole suite of dehumidifying how-tos, why-tos, when-tos, what-tos to help you feel more literate, know what you should get and when you should use it. Something our OG human bodies have definitely not evolved to deal with and filter is all of the toxins that you find in modern drinking water. The bacteria, fungi, viruses have always existed in water as a possible danger, but now we also have to deal with modern man-made chemicals, chlorine that's added in, fluoride that's added in, plastics, nanoplastics, microplastics, PFAS, forever chemicals. That's a lot. So just like those dehumidifiers and air purifiers, my trio of things that we need in the modern life, waterscoaustralia.com.au are brilliant. Their smallest, most basic water filter still has 7 stages of water filtration and a remineralization step for your trace minerals. So that's pretty powerful, but the biggest one, we have it, the Bio 1000 benchtop water filter has 15 stages of filtration. And so everything you choose in the range is a great idea. And then it's up to you what you have the budget for, what you have the space for. If you choose the subscription model, which auto subscribes you to discounted refills ongoing, and you can cancel that anytime. I highly recommend the brand. 40 years of Korean water technology research, infiltration behind it, always improving every day, every year. waterscoaustralia.com.au. Hey Maggie, how you doing?
Oh, Alex, so good to see you. Hey, look, I'm a bit chuffed about this, and your finale as your head exit stage left. To think that you've invited me along to cheer you on to the next part of your journey. A little bit emotional.
Aww. Well, as I was thinking like of my guests that I would want to have back for a last hurrah, it really did come down to my goats. My the people whose episodes got listened to the most, but the ones who like you just really feel like you solve some stuff. You don't just present information, and you deliver that in spades always. So it's awesome to have you back.
Thank you.
Now we are talking about something that's not always so awesome. In fact, usually just enraging and torturing us as parents and community members, online tech and our kids. And you and Kirra have collaborated to put a book out into the world that is so helpful, because it's not just about all the things that are scary right now, but it's the what do we do and how do we do it. And I know that this was probably a topic you would have chosen not to have to have talked about, but how did you guys come together and decide that you would collaborate on this one?
Yeah, you're dead right, because I'm not a tech dinosaur, but and I keep my finger on the pulse. But I have 8 beautiful grandchildren about to launch into the, phone era and all the rest of it. They're in 12 coming up. And Kirra, I've known Kirra for a number of years, and I followed her work. And we thought one of the things that is lacking is how the hell do we educate our kids into how we navigate this crazy world that most adults don't even understand in such a way that they can help make good choices within their homes and even within their schools. And so it was more, the education can't happen in a school anymore. We know parents often don't turn up to the digital education lecture once a year because they're already drowning and thinking, oh my God, I can't put any more in my head. But we know it's the biggest source of conflict in every home, from toddlers right the way through. So I said to Kirra, how can we put a book together that makes the parent the digital educator, or the teenager part of the digital education, so that they can see how it works and why it doesn't give a toss about how much harm it causes, so that we can all be on the same side instead of us fighting our kids. I want the kids with their parents and the teachers on the same side, pointing the finger of blame back at technology, big tech. And that's exactly, I think, what we've done. And I feel it's not shaming tech, because you and I can't do this without tech. I can't write my books without tech. So we want to look at how do we use tech that enhances our own lives, but especially the growth and development of our kids. So it's that's the plan. And Kirra will not mind me saying, the reason she is exceptional in this space after 30 years of working in digital security and everything, she's autistic and ADHD, and she just unbelievably has unbelievable amounts of knowledge and never forgets a thing, classic hyperfocus. However, she owned up to me that at school she couldn't write structured essays, so she tended to fail. So all her beautiful blogs with amazing information is usually just, her talking and it turning into text. So the English teacher in me, who retired in 1998, had to find her hat and to bring it into a way that's readable and digestible. And so I thought we made quite a good team in the end.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Truly did. And I think it's like the first thing that jumped out for me was I feel like I'm actually getting some ideas on how to do this.
Yeah.
Rather than,
Not
oh my
just the
God, this
what.
is awful. And then now what do I do and how do I apply it? Like that part hasn't been left out, which is so
and
common.
I feel, every now and then, everything I've ever done in the parenting space is, will this help?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
it.
don't want to just bombard you with more facts that terrify the hell out of you, even though I have to own up to the fact that a few of the chapters made me want to gather my grandchildren together and go and live in a cave because it scared the bejesus out of me. But then I decided, okay, so this is our world and we need to work out how to navigate this, especially for parents who possibly were only just tiptoeing around the edge of it.
Mm.
The changes and the speed of change. So quite often when you see people, some of the digital educators, not all of them, talk about, the digital world, they're talking about the one from 5 years ago, not the one now. And so that is one of the advantages. There could not be a more up-to-date version of it, although jokingly, we dropped the manuscript at the end of March. Kirra and I think we could write another 15 pages to the AI chapter in just a few months. So
Yeah.
it's a rapidly changing and confusing space that is not only impacting us as grown-ups, but our kids, but also as students in our school settings. It is insanely confusing at the moment.
Absolutely. And something you said there, which was we didn't want to bombard everybody just with all the bad information. It kind of leads me to talking about algorithms straight up, because algorithms tend to bombard us with a shed ton of information in a really sensationalist, often either hyper positive, like perfect success ideals BS that's not even perfect success and who lives like that anyway, or hyper negative, let's scare the crap out of everybody to spring them into action to buy a protocol or a product, or hyper hateful to get us hating each other instead of hating the system and the problems within the system that are making us all less happy, more lonely, less sense of prosperity, right?
So beautifully articulated. I couldn't have done it better myself, Alex.
Oh.
So one of the things, I was aware that how you interact with online is exactly what feeds the algorithm. What I didn't know is that it also plots what you avoid, what you pause, everything you do. So all your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the part about gathering data in order to feed it to systems. And I don't know if you've found that. I'm sure you have. Might chat to my good husband about something, and next thing, both our phones are just covered with So the very fact that the algorithms are determined by stuff we didn't even know they're determined by is just, and we know that this is exactly the target market for our tween and teen boys and girls, which is how it gets them down into the dark spaces. Exactly that reason. Even mature grown-ups with prefrontal lobes can find themselves down rabbit holes.
Oh, yes.
Right? So it's, and when we understand that, we're not powerless. And that was really one of the key bits that I needed Kirra to explain to me is how can I change that, and what can I do around the edges of things? But also I think we had to recognize that algorithms are designed exactly for massive engagement in order for tech to make big profits. And they, over the years, have blatantly said they don't care. And Mark Zuckerberg said it. Even some of his team were really concerned about the damaging effect of the way they were changing algorithms and the constant scroll. And he just absolutely ignored these good humans because he just didn't care. So I feel when we work out how algorithms are working, how they're designed to take us, then it gives us a sense of power. And when we do that collaboratively with our kids, that's giving power back to them. They're not powerless. Because that was what I felt. It just took all people's power away.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
like you said, it's great. If you love, sourdough, you'll get a lot of sourdough recipes.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of generosity on there. We can't
Don't
take away
start
from
looking
that.
for recipes or you never
Yeah.
get back off again.
Yeah.
Which is really hilarious how I'm just worried about whether people will ever buy recipe books again. Because I'm a mad cook and I've got lots of favourites. Every now and then I just can't be bothered. And So what's also interesting in this, space, especially when AI is driving the algorithms, so it's working quadruply hard in the background, and why it can, I know where we all are and what our habits are. That was one I didn't realise, that the habits of where you are also plotted and fed into the machine so that it knows exactly what coffee you like and all these. I just felt like there's nothing private.
Nothing is
No,
private.
it's actually
No.
not. So I feel when we understand it, then we'll, especially when we sit with our kids around. And I really think 10 to 12-year-olds can understand algorithms. I think when it becomes general knowledge, but what I really love is the skepticism I'm seeing in our next coming up generation. I have a 12-year-old granddaughter who does not have a phone yet, but has her laptop for school. She is so suspicious of AI. She's so suspicious of stuff. And I'm hoping it's not just her. I'm hoping this generation just knows how corrupt and crooked and unethical tech is, designed to snaffle their engagement with the same arguments that tobacco companies used about tobacco. I reckon the next generation, yeah, they're going to be a bit more savvy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I always think back to when Seb, before he could even talk, we would be walking along, say, a supermarket aisle, and you'd see the cereal boxes and there'd be a picture of a cute monkey, or the Wiggles would be on the yogurt. I didn't care that he couldn't talk. I already told him the reason they put these here is to trick you into buying it because you like the people or the cute monkey. And so you don't ask the questions about the food. But we eat this kind of food to fill our bodies, and that, if it's at a party, that's fine, all those kinds of things.
Yep.
I did that from so tiny. And I really think we often underrate our kids' ability to absorb intelligent learning.
I call it critical literacy. And as an English teacher, that was our job, is to make you become critically literate, not just critical, but to be able to assess the truth of arguments or the standpoint of what you were looking at. What we're finding today is that many of our kids don't have that same capacity because they've had the laptop in the classroom. They've been able to, ask Google, which now, of course, has, shifted straight into AI mode, which is
Which is wrong 20% of the time.
I know, wrong 20% of the time, but that means it's using intense amounts of extra power that we have to build more cooling towers, which is going to destroy our planet. So again, it's just let's get the truth out there around these sorts of things so that our kids are able to go, hang on, I just don't know that feels right. But also, Alex, are we cultivating them to trust that inner compass within them, because everything they do is done so quickly? And I know that Mari Swingle, in her book I Minds, which is quite a few years old now, they were doing research around 2006 to 2008 and finding that the rapid multitasking and extra all sorts of fast things was actually delaying the growth of the myelination and the prefrontal lobe, so that our kids were less intelligent because of all that activity. But then we also noticed that their ability to ascertain correct and incorrect information, which you need a prefrontal lobe for, was also getting delayed. That was 2006. Which was before the phones turned up in 2012, which is before AI took off like a rocket ship, probably 2020. So a little bit worrying.
It is a bit worrying.
We're stolen trust.
Yeah.
I think we've stolen trust. We don't trust. It's just, I think that's what it does do, because you can't work out what or who you can trust. And that lack of trust now has flowed over into politics and into health and into even the good people we can trust are no longer trusted. So how the heck do we find or rebuild that? That to me is a worry in our, raising of our children today.
I ask this question of myself a lot. I studied political science at uni, and media was like a passion subject of mine within that. And we used to have to grade newspapers and explain why we thought something was left-leaning, right-leaning, extreme, fake, not fake. It was such a great subject. And I think it just kind of, those things that you learn that just
same here.
Come out in different points in your life and become super useful. And in this question, I keep coming back to needing to get money out of politics and invigorate a sense of trust in the democratic process. Because if corporations can give whatever they want in lobby deals or free gifts or election donations and all that jazz, and if corporation shareholders can hide their wealth in interesting ways to not be part of the tax system, that becomes the public purse. These two things seem to me to be like these root cause issues that are festering through many countries right now, that a lot of these issues then stem from. Like Sarah Wynne Williams, when she wrote her book, Careless People, which was a few years ago now, the whistleblower of the ex-Facebook policy global leader, she pinpointed, and it was so well articulated, where the point at which Mark Zuckerberg realised we don't have to pander to the government of the day to try and improve our relations and decrease regulation. We actually can design the technology that influences the governments that come into power that would be less likely to regulate us. And so it was almost like this hostile corporate takeover that you guys touch on in the book as well. That
there's no question that
it's just so important that people understand this as a part of the let's free ourselves and our kids from the hold it has on us.
But also, we don't know what we don't see. And that's why one of those challenges is that if you are right, you will only see the right or the extreme right. You'll never hear the middle. And that is kind of really, some of the concerns in the American politics is that, and I remember that beautiful lady who wrote that beautiful science cookbook, that one, she was in Australia and she was doing a chat, and she said, do you know that, posts and things that were happening on social media from Black people, from women, from LGBTQI+, were all being ghosted in order for only this. And I thought, no. But what we do know, we now learn that, don't we? And it's a bit like in politics around in Australia at the moment with the gambling. How much money do they have that will limit gambling ads between the time children are watching to 3 an hour?
What a bargain. What a successful negotiation.
And a little bit like I thought our Prime Minister was doing the right thing, making some announcements around AI and the data towers and things, but it's the details that have been left out. That what sort of power, right? And what sort of water and all these other bits that then get influenced exactly what you were saying by the most powerful lobby groups behind the scenes. So democracy itself, it's kind of a little sad when you realise there's a lot of corruption.
There is.
I trust.
Right. But I feel like it's such a huge part of what we're talking about with how we keep our kids safe in tech, well-informed, able to see wrong from right. Like, it's a lot. It's like you can't talk about one with the other, but then if you do include that, then it becomes a 3-week seminar, not a...
I know. And this is kind of what we were trying to capture. Look, we know that social media can be great at supporting communities, or, we know we can find lost dogs like really quickly.
It's amazing.
What times the market's on Saturday. We love all that, right? Or if there's a new cafe opening. But unfortunately, what we don't see as well is that kind of like if there's a slightly divisive topic, then that, people need to come along to a meeting to work out the decisions of. Each of those feeds, those algorithmic feeds, are totally different. And I remember listening to a couple, and I can't remember what program it was on, sitting side by side. They live together. They're in their 20s. They're on the same Instagram accounts, and they suddenly started looking at what they see. They had no idea they were getting completely different feeds. He was getting very much more, male kind of negative towards women stuff, and she was only getting, it was like men did not exist on her feed, and also it was only about the thin and beautiful messaging. And he said, oh, that's awful, look at yours. And she's going, look at yours. And so it was an insightful moment of seeing how manipulative the algorithmic world is, and yet we think everyone's seeing the same as us, and that's the big lie that I think we all need to understand as we go forward.
And we think we're choosing.
A
lot of it is actually not choosing.
Not choosing at all.
Yeah. But I pressed follow, and I know that I do these things, and that is what, but then you never see them again. Or it's very much like my, I spend a couple of hours every month writing a blog, and a blog is really well balanced, researched, you name it. And probably 12 months ago, nobody sees them.
So then my poor old team have to work out creative ways. And I said, well, why don't I just stop writing them? Which isn't, obviously those in my newsletter get it and my membership group. But, the whole point was for the people who just might stumble upon it, that might give them a new insight that will help them understand how challenging it is being a parent today. But where that decision get made, and also the main people whose work I really value and trust, ones whose work I've followed for years, I hardly ever see theirs in my feed.
Yeah.
And so I know I'm being manipulated, and it does make me cross. But I can't tweak it the way back, no matter if I go and find them and touch. No, they've still got it blocked from me. And, I'm not one that likes to be manipulated. I'm not sure if I know anyone who does, but I feel that it's not just unjust, it's unethical.
That's it. We're in a big tobacco world. We're in a
Yes.
robber baron world. Like, that's how we have to treat this time. And so when it comes, I do want to ask you this though. So we've got these beautiful 10, 12-year-olds or the mid-teens, late teens who we might not have got to yet. And now we're starting to get our heads around it. We want to have the conversations. If we're doing it Maggie style, what is a structured, like sensible, encouraging, two-way street way for us to build a conversation around this topic with our kids right now?
Yeah, well, I think the most significant way to open these conversations is that you don't sound like you know much.
Yeah.
Because the know-it-all voice just, they're out.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think if we can find a true story that we've heard, or something that's reasonably relevant to their age or something, and there is a million out there, isn't there? Just every day there's a new one. And then we can say, do you know what? Isn't it interesting? I just want to check what comes through on your feeds. Can I see the difference on mine? Because I didn't realize that it's tweaked. And I'm not. Can we have a look at that? And you go, you know why though, don't you? That they just want maximum engagement, because the more ads you see, the more money they make, and they don't actually care whether we enjoy it or we benefit from it. But also, and every now and then when we had that conversation, so let's have another look. Let's go and have a look at your feed, say and the TikTok feed. So one of the challenges on TikTok, it's a great place if you're a creative dancer and a creative singer, and you can have some fun stuff on there for sure. But some of the darkest stuff, from live beheadings and watching live suicides and just hideous stuff, is also on there. So anytime you can, if they've gone that there, say, isn't that great? But have you ever stumbled upon anything? And what do you do when you do? And what do you think about it? Isn't that sick? Yeah, so why on earth is that popping up when you didn't ask for it? This is what the manipulation is really all about. So we know that kids are harmed by that content. And then can we get around to the harm place? Because the first chapter in the book is, the digital harm is, oh my God. And not only is it escalating, was it a 2,600% increase in explicit sexualized images in 1 year?
Wow.
And they know this is happening. And so rather than us going, have you seen it? And what did you do? It's more like, how does it make you feel? It's gross, isn't it? So how do your friends deal with it? And what do you say among your friends, And I feel that that's a conversation that starts to say, you just point the harm in the right direction, not shaming your kid because the harm has landed in their feed or into whatever they're doing, because I guarantee they didn't go searching for it. And I feel one of the good things that Kirra does, all the way through the book is, this is when you come with calmness, you come with curiosity. They're not at fault, tech is at fault.
Yeah.
And how do we deal with the fallout and the harm that's happening? And probably one of the golden messages, in the book, which I am actually on the parent advisory body for the eSafety Commission, so I should have known this, but I didn't know that any young person can anonymously report really harmful stuff that they see, either happening to a friend or happening in a space, directly onto the eSafety Commission website when they deal with it behind it. I didn't know you could do it anonymously, because dobbing, right? You don't want to get caught. You don't want to be that one. But if you're worried about something and how it's impacting your group of friends or a kid in your school or someone online who you follow who might not know this is happening behind the scenes, you can go straight there and you can do an anonymous, and they follow immediately up because they can go in all through the back doors and support that person.
Oh, wow. And so because they can
Yes,
go in through all the
back
back
doors.
doors,
Yes,
that
right?
means they can also weed out whether it
Yep.
was a false
Yes,
alarm. Because I
yes.
wondered about that part as well. Like,
No,
you know
they're
how kids
very,
can be
very good
really
at that.
mean. I
Yeah.
don't like that person. I'm going to
Yeah.
dob them in for digital
Now
something.
the
And
back door stuff. Oh my goodness. And when we one of our meetings, we had the team that works with the darkest side of reporting in the E-Safety Commissioner. And I couldn't do that job, the same as I couldn't do it what the police do behind the scene. I could not do that. That would destroy me very quickly, because what they witness and what they see would just shatter any faith you ever have in humanity. And I feel that that's the other, how we talked about trust before, is the big one for our tweens and teens, is how do you know that person is real and who they say they are? Because again, that is where worst of even the bots do it automatically now. They don't even have to be a person, which is even more problematic, because that means they're reading, and pretending there's something they aren't. And I think the other part, when we're talking through this, is just pick a topic like location or privacy, or one simple thing, and say, let's have a look at this bit here. Did you know that you can be plotted not from the, what you school uniform with a school behind you? If you've had a photo taken in your yard and there's a bush or a tree or a side of a building, and another photo has been taken by someone else in the same garden, that is all plotted. They can find you. That, when they see how terrifyingly scary the behind the scenes stuff is, I believe it automatically makes them not only more vigilant, but they'll go and tell their friends that we need to be a lot more careful on how we do these things. I just feel that we gather them together because they all really want to look out for their friends. They're not so good at looking out for themselves. Don't you love teens?
I know,
But
but they are
will.
good at looking out for each other. I totally agree. Yeah.
So we always tune in via the, what are your friends, have any of your friends experienced this? Because unfortunately we're still losing beautiful young people because of not just the harm of sexual extortion, but the harm of, deep fakes, and the harm of cyberbullying. It's still rampantly out there, even though the idea of us having the, minimum age for our account holding is not to ban our kids off those things. It's to ban tech from our kids until 16, when their brain is a lot more mature and sensible. And we know they're not doing a really good job about it because, of course, that's how powerful they are. It's the same as the tobacco companies. But we are noticing now that particular stand has meant that the upcoming generations, it's going to be difficult. But when we mention it in the book, when we talk to 18 to 24-year-olds about the delay, and we asked them what they feel about it, they said they had wished it was in place when they were that age, because they can look back now at how much it created more
impacting
harm.
their lives.
Yeah. So part of what we want to do in the book as well is how do we find ways that kids connect more safely? Because the three things about self-determination as a human, particularly an emerging teen trying to work out who they are, and also where am I in my social validation group, this is exactly what they're meant to be doing, is that that if we can find somewhere they do it safely, it can enhance that development. So the connection's the first one. The second one is competence, and what can I do well? And you can see why so many are gaming, because they get better and better at it. Yeah. An interesting
Instant
stat
feedback.
was our girls are gaming at the same level at the moment.
Wow.
So there is a creative component to a lot of gaming, and it's until it gets problematic, it's, and you know who you're gaming with. And then the third one is that control, because adolescents are looking for more autonomy. So when we look at how do we create those things, not only in online spaces, then we develop connection in IRL or IRT, whatever it is. But what we now know is that it hasn't served our young people to develop their capacity to create meaningful relationships. And what we have is an epidemic of loneliness in teenagers, and many with really significant social anxiety. So I suppose what we're saying in the book again is we need to be able to make sure, yes, of course, there are safer ways to stay connected, But if you're also arty, there's safer ways for you to share your art and things other than just YouTube. There's safer ways for music than TikTok. And so that they can find those pathways so they can connect with the people that matter without the potential, to be manipulated and harmed. I feel all of those things make a lot of sense. It's
Yeah,
not
they
banning.
do.
It's how do we help tech work for us and our kids in positive ways.
Yeah. And how do we create those physical
Yeah,
opportunities to
yeah,
come together? Like, I think community sport's amazing if it remains accessible and free for all. Like,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it's pay to play, or same with music. So it
Uh,
feels like a lot of these things that we know are excellent for people to socialize as young people, come together, collaborate, do stuff, have
so,
become more and
Alex,
more pay to play,
there's
which,
a lot less of our emerging adults who don't go to pubs and scenes anymore because they're not as big into drinking, but they're all turning up to the yogurt shop.
yeah, the yo chi
And
craze.
how cruel, like, I mean, they're outrageously expensive, but there's a whole bunch of tables and chairs with cool music.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, oh, look at that. Okay,
yeah.
so, it's probably cheaper than buying a few drinks that's when you can. But I think we have to get much more creative in our communities at working out, okay, so how can we create the environment so that they can, and I have recommended in some of the communities that have got even more half-court basketball things because they're finding gradually they're getting more and more kids back out into the
Yeah,
parks, right? And I think we need to create more opportunities for whatever,
a
dodgeball,
hundred
square
percent,
ball, provide the balls.
100%.
Let's just get
Yes.
out to have some fun. And
Yeah,
also
because,
that, yeah,
sorry, no, you
yeah.
finish, you finish.
No, I feel that we just got sucked into this is what we do now. This is what everyone's doing now. No one's out and abouting. And a return to kind of neighborhood play again.
Yeah,
We noticed that I really feel there's a permission being given because we know that too much of the screen stuff can have problems displacing them from healthy stuff. But also, we've got to remember fun, right? When teens can gather together, maybe with one adult with a screaming distance, some enormous amounts of food if they're boys.
yeah.
They don't need a lot of whatever, but we've got to create those opportunities again because we sort of all got busy. And I
And then
feel,
we all got locked down,
yeah, then we got,
and then that bedded down the
yeah,
behavior, and then now we're kind of
and
stuck.
we just hand that over thinking that's the way. I know that there's, I don't know if you've seen Toy Story 5, but
Oh, I haven't
it was,
seen it yet, no.
it's a good, I enjoyed it. I went to my grandkids, but what I kind of loved about it was all the toys going, how come, where all the kids are just sitting on screens at night not playing with us. So how can we get it back? But what was the beautiful part of it? It wasn't an anti-tech completely war. It was about the girl that still wants to play with toys and she couldn't find any friends. And the ones she started to go friends with, when she went to play at their house, they all just got on their devices and didn't play with toys. Anyway, long story short, she finally finds another girl, but she has to find her through her her device to
Yeah.
find out because she found a couple of her lost toys. And when the two finally get together, they just put their devices down and go and play. And so I feel that how do we use tech to connect in a real meaningful way or, and that's kind of one of the big challenges in the book for some of our more marginalized groups that don't all fit in our school environments. Where do they find their people? And
Yeah.
how do they meet safely? And what ways do we have? And I just love the fact that, we've found all those pathways for them, knowing that sometimes, and there's a bit that Kirra explains that when that, boy with autism has finally found another group of people who are as passionate about dinosaurs or blowing up a certain Minecraft game, he's just found his whole room. He's not weird anymore. He's got his people. Can you imagine the profound sense of connection and joy, which
Yeah.
remember they're the two fundamental hungers for us all, is to be connected, but to experience joy with connection, not harm. That would be like pure gold for somebody who's always thought I just don't fit here.
Yeah. And so many people feel that way. Like, I think of people who want to do more about the environment and reduce their plastics or reduce the endocrine disruptors in their cosmetics. Often you're the lone wolf in your group of friends or your family, and everyone thinks you're a hippie crackpot. And like, so then you find these Facebook groups like we started years ago, a whole bunch of us, and people find their people. So
Yes.
minority groups,
Yes.
essential.
In closed groups.
Yeah, that's it. I do still feel like that has one of the best benefits.
Yeah.
But in the closed groups, my sister recently did an expose on their closed group, like one of the Facebook community groups in the Southern Highlands where she lives. And she presented at council chambers where she started to realise the closed group didn't actually have named figureheads who were obviously from the community. And then they tended to be putting one-sided arguments out about how things should be in the community. And then there tended to be a whole bunch of locked profiles that she noticed in the comments. And if she posted something to the contrary, she got blocked. She then tested it with her husband. He got blocked out of the group. So teaching literacy about what is real and what is fake and how to kind of gauge, I think, is going to be one of the really key things in these groups.
It is such a complex thing, and it's one of the things that Kirra talks about at one point is we know that digital footprints is a real thing, and we know there are forensic, getting a job, they will check on you. And it's just, we don't know, and I was really grateful there are no photos of me as a teenager. But also you don't know the random videos that can come up, and you can't get into America without a fairly detailed forensic look through your social media. But because she's such an incredibly intelligent human, she's created a sweeper app where you can basically put your name in and it will go through and it can tell you anything that's potentially harmful or something that's not going to be good for you as a human, and it can be removed and deleted. And I thought, so the good comes out of people who really understand all of the weirdo stuff, because I had no idea what she's talking about. And also how then we get the accurate information back in place where it needs to be. And when it's in a book, it cannot be manipulated. And so that was kind of the reason that we wanted it in a book format. And also the really big chapter, we talked about anonymous reporting, but if you would find your teenage daughter or son in a fetal position on the bathroom floor at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday night, you're going to know, what do I do now? Right? And we wanted to be really specific that you can have power at that time with very specific instructions on which particular harm it was in order for things to happen, because nobody's going to sleep. And that stress level then becomes even more heavy for that poor young person as well. And so I was very specific. I kept saying to Kirra, what if it's your teen and it happens at weirdo time? It's a bit like the follow-up to me writing the book, Help Me Help My Teen. What do you do if they come home drunk? What do you do if you find the vape? When you've got the information on how to handle it, you are much more empowered as a parent to be able to come alongside your teen without acrimony, shame and anger and go, okay, we've got your back. We're going to work this through, because this isn't your fault. This is the crazy world out there, but you're not in that world alone anymore as long as you come to us. And I feel that was such a powerful thing to have anywhere. You want that beside your bed just in case. And then you can use that information to share with a friend who rings you sobbing because that's just happened in their house. So in other words, I want to empower parents to be so much more of the solution rather than just stressing and worrying about what they don't understand and what they don't know.
Yeah, and could this happen to us? And hopefully it doesn't.
You don't punish a kid for making a choice which is developmentally quite understandable in a world that's designed for them to make more poor choices, right? So that's, again, point the finger back at tech, because they're the ones to blame.
They are the ones to blame. But I'm going to ask you a question here, because I think it's also important to ask, is that what if you find out your kid has a part of blame in something that's happened to another child or to another person, and maybe you've been approached by a parent who's saying your son said this or your daughter did this, or maybe you've seen something on a phone and you thought, what's that? how do we, because I think accountability is where I'm getting at here. And I think teaching accountability is such a secret sauce to raising healthy humans who know how to stand up for things, but also fess up to things and learn from them and grow.
Oh, totally.
What can we do in that situation?
All right. So the very first thing is that, this is your like worst nightmare, thinking I've raised this child, I gave birth to it. How can it could possibly have been mean and done that? Firstly, I double check every now and then, have we got accurate information? And obviously it's easier nowadays because you can find it somewhere. Secondly is, what was their intention? So sometimes calling them to that point, what was your intention of, whatever it is, creating a scale for the girls in your school with disgusting language on it, what was your intention? And you know what still so often happens, and I'm a boy champion on all levels, is that the words they use to describe the scales have changed, but boys have always ranked the girls. Often it was super hot to freezing cold. Now it's unrapeable. So that's the influence of the pornography and the misogynistic content online on developing boys who still did it because I thought it was funny. So we've got to double check. You thought it was funny? Okay. So that's a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, a lack of maturity, and it's our job to be able to walk them through how harmful that can be to a girl and why causing harm is definitely not one of our values in our house. So what you've done is you've caused wrong. So now I want you to think of, how are you going to make this right? Right? I can tell you, but I want you to work out, because this is about building you to be a better human, is what are you going to do to make it right? And I don't want some lame apology that's thrown out in the winds. I want you to really think about it for a few days, that you have really, really caused significant harm and upset to another human. And you've done it a number of times, and I can't still find that. I'm finding hard to see that you could still see that was funny. Okay? So, and then when they work out, and there are great resources online about restorative justice and things, but in some form, you're going to not only make some sort of amends to that, but then you're going to look at what future choices are you going to make around when those things may happen again. So it's, what do you do next time? If you have someone you don't like or disagree with and you're online and everyone's piling on, you're not piling on anymore. That's not the human we're raising in our home. So again, it's that honesty, knowing there's been a big mistake here. So often, and it's a bit like one of the challenges with the TikTok post and boast videos.
Yeah.
The escalation in youth crime.
It's such a
right?
dopamine
It's because,
rich
right?
allure, isn't it?
I'm going to hang out of the train even further, or I'm going to steal more cars. If the digital world wasn't there doing this, these figures would be lower. So that is how much the harm can be impacting our kids, not just because they've created some cruel comments. It's because it's shifting the behaviour as well, because of the very nature of that window of development, especially around our boys. So like I said, the harassment of female teachers and girls in our schools has escalated again for the same reason, that the algorithms feed healthy, lovely boys with disgusting ways of speaking and talking, and also hours of degrading pornography. So there is good news, that it was in the good news chapter at the end, and that is the Age Restricted Materials Code, which the E-Safety Commissioner has introduced. It is going to get increasingly harder for our kids to be able to access pornography or harmful content, and eventually it'll need to be identified that you're 18. So that's in the pipeline and is starting to make a difference. So can you see how every now and then there's a moment of, but before that it was the Wild West, and a beautiful girl or a beautiful loving boy was dumped stuff they should never see at any age.
No.
And you're wondering why it's changing the way they see themselves as an emerging sexual being, and I feel the way that Kirra describes the manosphere stuff is, it starts often with an innocent question like, how do I get a girl to like me?
100%. Or for me, it was with Seb in one of the lockdowns. Oh, Mum, a friend showed me this guy who helps you learn how to be smart with money. And I was like, oh, okay, who's that, sweetie? Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And that's when we watched every documentary on cults that existed on Netflix that year, and we learnt about feeder lanes into extreme ideas and thinking. And
But it also is portrayed, thanks to social media and everything else, that all boys are awful.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are doing this. All of them can't be trusted. And that's also incorrect.
Yeah.
So again, you know, we keep fighting these battles of perception.
Yeah.
And the perceptions are manipulated, again, just by how much we see online. And we need to have another look out there in the real world. And I just keep running into beautiful tween boys who, you know, excuse themselves, who call out if they're coming behind me on an e-bike saying, sorry, can I get past? Boys who have helped other kids get up. And I look and I go, gosh, you don't see that online.
No.
You see that in the real world. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could have all those feeds that could shift the perspective again, that all our boys are going to end up being horrible misogynistic males when
they're just not.
Absolutely not.
I try, as soon as I see someone really positive in the male arena, I share them to stories. I say low tox bloke of the week, you know, and it'll be like a beautiful Luke Bateman style person. There's so many amazing examples.
And they are out there, and we are finding at the moment. He's doing such good work, especially as an old English teacher. Fancy having a gorgeous boy who loved football and also loved reading. Yeah. Oh, did I ever? When he's talking about books, I'm going, I really want to go back in the classroom. Not one of my sons is into any of that sort of fiction. I know one likes to read kind of not quite sci-fi, but it's still quite good literature. But the others, if it's not about football or surfing, they're not interested. And I tried really hard, but at the same time, they didn't have a phone, which then stole their attention because they were mainly hanging out with their friends in the real world or eating everything in my fridge and my pantry.
Yeah, doing active in-person stuff. So last question then, Maggie. How are your conversations changing with your kids about them and their kids in this age, and after having written this book? Like, what are a couple of things that you've thought, now that I know that, this is how I'm going to play that scenario? Oh,
it's so interesting because fortunately I have one that's a bit geeky. He always has. He's the one that sets up my computers and my laptops and my phones.
We love those ones.
But thank goodness. But what I've noticed is he's becoming very much an avid user of ChatGPT. And when I was up there, so whenever I'm around the older grandkids and I might go in and they're on a device or something, I said, is that making you smarter or a better human? If it's not, off. They're not allowed any short reels. They're not allowed to watch things that are negative towards other humans, particularly girls and boys. But then, so the eldest, who's not quite 12, comes and says, you know, Nanny, I'm just getting a little bit sick of when I ask my dad a question, he doesn't answer anymore. He gets ChatGPT, and I want my dad to answer. So how's that for a smackdown?
Wow, loving that.
So he's now changed that behaviour. The others don't kind of do that. Two of my boys are not on any social media at all because they just find it not good for them. And I'm watching them. All of them are delaying as much screen time as possible. So I just love the fact that they're already been on this page. But I also know down the track we have to educate them because this is going to come. And
it's a part of the reality. It's not
the main reason why I wrote the book was so I could give it to each of my sons and my daughter-in-law so that they can become, because I can't get around and explain it all to them. I'm totally selfish. And also I feel that we have a potential, I believe, when we start to recognize how tech can enhance, you know, development and it can enhance as we are as humans. I believe now we've got better knowledge. Now we fully understand how it creates harm. So rather than banning and denying it, I feel that that was the reason that Kirra and I wanted the book out there, so that we can use tech for good. We can use it for connection and celebration and artistic creativity and all the things that matter. And I feel that was what really drove me in that direction, because when I first, by chapter 4, we're going to live, I'm going to get a farm in the back of Tasmania. I just thought I'd made a really wrong decision. And that's why, fortunately, we came around with all the other stuff to land in a place of quite good hope. And I feel that is exactly, anything that enhances the development of our kids' mind, body, heart, and soul. If it's not enhancing those things, then we need to make sure we're prioritizing it in our life, and that we cannot let tech displace human relationships, because human connectedness is the number one protective factor in real time, even more so then it can be enhanced in the digital space, but it cannot be sought in the digital space as the solution. And I'm not sure if you're aware that, we all thought FOMO was the big thing for most teens, but JOMO has actually kind of replaced it. So instead of the fear of missing out, often it's the joy of missing out. For many teens haven't got the energy or the social skills to want to go out and hang out with their friends. And would you believe that AI has created some apps that help you make excuses that don't hurt or upset your friends' feelings? Welcome to the crazy world we live in.
Wow.
Don't even start me on people in relationships or chat companions who don't think they need another human in their lives. Anyway.
My gosh. But yeah, like if I think about when I talked to Dr. Reema a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about what close range vision does to your nervous system, which makes you more anxious, which makes you ironically less likely to want to go out, which makes you then spend more time on the device that is making you not want to go. Like you end up in this, which is why the third space piece, back to what we were talking about. Like
so important. The absence
every
of
council
nature
should be all over it right now, creating third space opportunities.
The nature deficit kind of disorderness of our kids there are so many of those things that when parents suddenly start going, it's okay for you to come back from a walk to find out what a bird was on your iPad, but the kids have got to see it in the real world first. And I feel the more that we get all of us back outside, we know there's a natural restorative feature to nature. It's naturally. But I believe it's the starvation of awe and wonder, because you can't do awe and wonder online. If there's that full moon that just blows your head away, or the sunset on a magic day, or the giant puddle for a little toddler, or even any of my grandkids, the joy of being able to, build sandcastles and things like that. Nothing like that can happen online, where all the senses, and that's exactly what she's kind of saying, just not with vision, but all the senses are engaged in creating something autonomously free, with nobody telling you how to do it, nobody to judge you and feedback you online. That is exactly how we create interesting and original and authentic humans, because I think we've got a world full of kind of semi-fake, half and halfers, totally confused at who they are and what they're here for. And I feel that the number one reason for being on our earth, and I want to celebrate you and your nearly 500 episodes, Alex, with it was to make the world a better place, right? And I feel if that's the message we give to our kids, that if you can use tech to make the world a better place, we've got boundaries around it, but that's okay. But I want you to know you're here as a human, as part of the human race, and how are you going to make it better? That's the number one thing, using whatever strengths you have. Not all of them are going to be academic strengths. Some of them are going to be creative ones. Some of them are just going to be unbelievably good ways of taking photographs of things. We just need to celebrate again that we do that within the systems of families and communities. That is what's going to ensure their health and well-being, because that's what we want our kids to grow up to be, healthy and happy and capable. And the digital world has stolen big chunks of that, and we're now coming to get it back again.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming to make sure the people that we elect into offices are looking after us and the future of humanity, which cannot be overstated. I mean, I just love these MPs like David Pocock and Allegra Spender coming out and really talking to community members, listening to the concerns and saying, is anyone else concerned? And of course, everybody else is.
Everybody is.
So let's do something about it. It's a very exciting time. I really think we're turning a corner.
Now we just have to keep making sure that their stuff gets heard.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me once again, Maggie. I think this book is so important. I agree with you. It had to be in physical form to preserve its authenticity of message.
Yes.
And if anyone's been feeling a bit hopeless lately, get into it.
And thank you, and keep spreading those wings as you fly off into the next chapter of your life. I said Before we began, I found the 50s were my most powerful and creative 10 years of my life. So watch out. Hold
Watch
on.
out. Wow, she's 50 and she's headed out there. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us in listening to this week's show. If you're not already subscribed or following the show on whatever platform you listened, please do that now. It helps enormously in terms of getting this show out to more people. Another way you can connect and support the work we do so that we can support you in your low tox life is join us in the Low Tox Club. You'll get access to amazing member masterclasses where we invite some of our best show guests for a live Q&A with members. You also have great shopping discounts from low tox businesses and honestly, the nicest low tox community Facebook group that exists on the internet. I do hope you join us there. It costs just the price of a coffee a month on average. Head to lowtoxlife.com, hit the Explore tab, and Low Tox Club is the first option there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.